You've just recreated the worst possible nightmare.
Fiscal year 1999, 2.3 trillion missing. Fiscal year 2000, 1.1 trillion missing.
You'd think with 2 mortgages out, the repo guy's staking out my car, my job on the line.
Even when we win, it's just a matter of time before we give it all back.
There are serious financial management problems.
Are we potentially at a point where we might actually lose the financial system as we know it?
And you're standing there and you suddenly realize, hey, I'm still here.
Don't be a victim of the current economic crisis. Turn the tables on the banksters, collection agencies, and other crooks. You can stress out trying to find a way to make the minimum payments every month, or you can get them to pay you. Join hosts Jesse and Dave every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for What Lies in Your Debt, right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Where information never sleeps.
You need some more speed records in this day and age. You need coverage.
Coverage? Oh, you mean them little root weevils that crawl around popping off cameras in your face?
Those root weevils write history.
Many of you know that quote by Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Well, you can, and Event Horizons will give you those truths. So when you're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore from that memorable senior network, you'll know just what to do. We will draw you in and become your news addiction at Event Horizons. Join us Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time at freedomslips.com. Revolution Radio. Our world team members are Dennis Fetcho, John Ilias, David Dunger, Hyla Cass, MD, Melanie Bridgeton, Jim Mars, Paula Harris, John Trallo, Maria Payan, Christopher Husser, DODDS, Jonathan Orchard, and me, your anchor, Dr. Robin Falco.
If you decide not to volunteer, it will not be held against you in any way.
Sounds dangerous. It is. Very dangerous. Count me in.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps.
Enjoy your extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another extra big-ass fries?
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
trouble.
trouble.
Come on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good day. This is your host, Joe Kiernan. This is Researchers on a Mission Radio here on freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. Joining us tonight is we have co-hosted by our good friend, Mr. Dave Stinnett. We will be speaking with Mr. Aaron Thatcher regarding quite a few things, most important starting with some strange orange lights in the sky. Before we get into that, though, I'd like to see if I can get a lot of people, get everyone to come to freedomslips.com, find your way to the chat room, pick yourself a name, get in there, get yourself involved in some good conversations, a lot of good, interesting people out there, good theories, good topics, good discussion, good research. While you're at it, if you don't mind, you'll see a little donation button. Throw $1 or $2 in there. I'd rather you throw $1 million in, but it would be a lot more helpful if you just threw a couple dollars here and there to a lot of people. But the million's cool. We could work with million. So without further ado, also I'd really like to mention, the holidays are coming, and there's really cool stuff in the shop there online too, on the freedomslips.com Revolution site. Really check it out. They really got some good stuff in there. There's the online auction going on for the holidays, and there's just a lot of cool, interesting things. Everyone really should get over there and check it out. It's where things are really happening. You have some live interaction with the show. With that said, bring the co-host in, my man, Dave Stinnett. Dave, are you there with us, pal?
Hey, good evening, Joe.
Man, how are you, pal?
Yeah, I had a 4-hour run in the snow coming down from the mountains today, but...
I was going to ask how the weather was.
Yeah, Jersey's all snowed up right now, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's pretty much a wet snow, so...
Right on. It's a lot of wind and cold with it, though, too, right?
Yeah, no wind. It's just kind of wet, so, I'm kind of hoping it's going to be nice tomorrow, but it's our introduction to the rest of winter.
Right. It's the prelude.
But you don't have to worry about that in the Carolinas so much.
No. I when I moved from New York down here to the Carolinas, as the joke goes down here, is the old timers say the last thing they strapped on their car when they left New York was their snow shovel, and then they got to a point where people pointed and said, "Hey, what's that thing on your roof?" and that's about where we stopped too. So I'm done shoveling the snow. We're done with that.
Yeah, man, I hear you.
Well, let me bring our friend Aaron in here. He's got a lot going on. Aaron's also, not only has he seen strange lights in the sky, which is pretty cool, he's in the last few years, he's gotten himself into a lot of self-farming or self-preparedness, just a lot of ways that are very beneficial to everyone. Everyone really, if you just applied yourself a little bit and you grew a little bit of your own food or you recycled a little bit more, it goes a very long way. And Aaron's also doing that, and he's also, as we'll post the link here in the chat room, he's also been doing videos of this, and it's a how-to. It shows you how to do it, what to look for, and it's really great that he does that, because there's a lot of people out there that do it, and if you're not sharing it, it's really difficult for a lot of people to learn these things. It's really a lot more to it than just picking out a few seeds and throwing it in there and having a good salad in a few months. So without further ado, we'll bring Aaron in. Aaron, are you there with us, pal?
I'm here.
Hey, how are you, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm really glad you could come on. We've been chatting for a few months now. Actually, probably even over a year since I first found you, or you found me.
Yeah, it was about a year ago. I think it was just about a year ago. Last October or so. November.
Yeah, you're probably right on, man. You're probably right on. So you used to live in the Myrtle Beach area of South Carolina, but now you're in the upstate area, right?
Yeah. We decided to head up to the mountains and stuff like that. It'd be a little bit easier to have things running around and gardens in your front yard. Up here a little bit more. As a matter of fact, the town that we live in, everybody's got a garden and they grow shiitake mushrooms and really I wouldn't say a self-sufficient community, but there's just a lot of traditions that haven't been weeded away because of the accessibility up here in the mountains. You know, people still grow their own food. They've got horses, and you know, there's a lot of tradition still up here. You know, and I think that's a lot has to do with its isolation. You know.
Right, that's pretty cool. You really hit it right on the head. Traditions, that's becoming a thing of the past. You know, people better write it down quick because they're fading.
Yeah, the only thing we're going to pass down to our kids is like our laptop and our PlayStation.
Right, and they'll be seriously outdated. They won't even know what to do with it. It was like it was so funny when I was teaching my children they know what a CD is and an album, a vinyl album, and they understood that, but they didn't understand the whole cassette thing that we went through. You know, so it would be like just handing them a cassette, 15 years ago. You know, they're looking at it now like, why in God's name did you make this? You went from this disc to this tape thing. They just don't get it. They don't get it at all.
It's a lot of 8-track, and it's what they say, Joe.
It's the same thing. They also they think it's hilarious when I explain the answering machine that people used to have. I was like, well, and the thing is, not even everybody had one. They were like, that's so weird. So you used to have to put these tapes in there. I mean, that's how you recorded it. They think of it like I'm speaking in the 1800s. You know, it's funny because when I was a kid, I used to see pictures of my parents and they would be in black and white, and it even though it was only 20 years before me, it seemed like it was 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So they made me feel really old, but I guess that's their job too. So man,
you know what? The stuff always changes. It's always going to be something new, but. You know, if you look back at it, we're always going to need something to eat. And if I could take that power away from the powers that be, we grew 80% of the food we ate this summer and tried to can as much of it so that way we've got something here in the wintertime and stuff like that. But,
you've been doing a little more as time goes on. What are your plans? Yeah. What would you like to see come out of this?
I'd like to see in the summertime that pretty much all we eat is something that came out of my yard. Yeah. You know, and if you look at the staples, what do you normally eat on every night, throughout the week? And a lot of times it's like potatoes, carrots, maybe a rotisserie chicken, some fish or something like that,
That's right.
And a salad, and if we could kind of produce most of that, either we go fishing or we sell something to the neighbors for some of the chicken, I think it's pretty doable. I think most people can kind of do it, but it's been lost. You know what I mean?
I agree. You hit it right on the head again. It's been lost. You're refinding it. It's something so theoretically simple. That it's what made us civilized as people originally. But it is becoming a thing of the past. It's becoming. It seems like an impossibility for a lot of people when you say you should just grow yourself a few things. I don't have the time, or it's really too difficult. I don't have the space. But you started in a smaller area. You were in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, I started growing it on my porch.
Right? Yeah.
I was on a 2-story apartment, and I just started growing stuff on my balcony, and I was amazed by it, And I thought about the amount of time I spend working every day, punching the clock, just to pay for food. If you're spending $150 a week at the grocery store, that's $10 an hour. That's 15 hours a week. If you spend 15 hours a week and you're just producing food for yourself, not only do you get better food, but you get more, and you have pride. There's a lot of people, I think, that are depressed and sad and taking antidepressants, and they're just lost. It's because they don't have anything they feel good about in their life. They haven't accomplished anything in a long time other than getting through the whole last season of Walking Dead on Netflix. That's one of the big accomplishments.
Yeah.
And gardening is good for your mind. You're growing stuff, you're tending it, you weed it, you get to see your crop come in. So it's a good way to. I come from kind of a farming family, and we always had a giant one. And no matter where I went, whether it was an apartment complex or when I had my house, I always had a garden that was nice to work in. You can't come home from work and you're in a crappy mood. You go out and you go through your garden and kind of helps see you down a little bit.
Well, and that's true. And think about how kids used to be. Kids used to play in the dirt, and they were more creative, they were more active, they were more healthy. And now it's, it's kind of the complete opposite. It's, people that actually garden statistically live longer. And I think there's something to that.
Well, we used to just walk through the garden and grab tomatoes, but then have a salt shaker in one hand and, go at it. So.
Oh yeah, and it's like living down there on the beach. If you go up to Calabash at all and you get some shrimp off the boat, that'll screw you up. Never again will shrimp ever taste the same anywhere else other than
That's right up the street for me.
Yeah, you've had it as good as you can get. It's like going to New York and getting pizza or getting a hot dog in Chicago. It's like from that point on,
it's right
or even going to Maine and getting lobster right off the boat. It'll never taste that good. And once you start growing your own food and picking a tomato right off the plant right there, their tomatoes are never going to taste the same to you. You're from that point on, you're done. It's as good as it gets, and everything else is second best. So why not?
Aaron, did you say you fly fish?
What's that?
Did you say that you fly fished?
I don't fly fish, but I'm going to need to take it up because I'm used to fishing lakes and stuff like that, back home. And I tried fishing a little bit down there on the ocean and everything. And I went fishing with my cousins. They use like shore nets where they'll put a net across the channel while the tide's coming in. And it sucks all the fish right into it. But up here in the mountains, man, it's pretty much fly fishing. All you got is trout and small little streams and stuff like that. But
and I know there's not many mountains at all in the state of South Carolina. It's a very, very small part of the state. What elevation? Do you know what elevation you're at?
Actually, just north of Asheville.
Okay.
I'm right at the base of one of the largest mountains on the East Coast, Mount Mitchell. It's like 6,500 feet, and then I'm in the valley right below it, which is about 2,800 feet.
Wow. So it's probably cold right now for you too.
Oh yeah. It's pretty chilly. It was like 29 today or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, it's brutal here.
Up there.
Hey Dave, so you had a chance to look at Aaron's video. Aaron, I want to get back to what you're doing because there was a few questions I wanted to ask you. But when you were living down here at Myrtle Beach, there's a lot of talk, and myself included. I've done a lot of the talking, and I had a lot of fingers pointed at me. And I'll speak for myself here. I saw many times these strange orange lights that sometimes they just appear and light up. Sometimes I see a lot of flashing in the sky, like dozens of other really bright white, bluish, bright flashes. Just maybe there's 100 of them, or maybe there's just a dozen or 2 dozen all over the place. When I see these flashing lights, usually you just keep your eyes on it, and soon enough, in a few minutes, you'll see some really cool orange lights, and then everything just stops, and I don't see any more lights. And then sometimes 15 minutes later, a half hour later, you'll see them again. Sometimes 5 minutes later, sometimes not at all. This one, in some months, I would see it 5 times. Some months 1 time. It's very erratic. I've searched around for a lot of answers. I've gotten really none. There's a lot of people that give opinions and really push them as facts. It's really hard to push an opinion as fact when the person stating the fact has absolutely no proof of what he's saying, more so than I do. I'm not making any real claims on what these things could be. They are unidentified, the ones I'm looking at. I have found people in many towns surrounding me who have seen these lights more than once. I saw a gentleman who is in his late 80s, who's been seeing these lights since the 1930s, who lives in Cherry Grove, South Carolina. He said that he was seeing them since the 30s, and then for years in his early adulthood, he was making a big fuss about it, and he said it didn't matter. There was no one around in that time to even listen nor care. And then the military base opened here in Myrtle Beach. And then 20 plus years ago, in the 80s, they closed the Air Force Base in Myrtle Beach. And this gentleman has still been seeing them since. And he said for years they were saying it was the military base up until the 80s. And he says he still sees them today. And the base has been closed for over 20 years. This gentleman sees them out over the ocean, but he says when you get the best view is when they're right over the sand. And sometimes they'll move 5 to 10 blocks inland from the ocean. And he made a very interesting claim, which I've heard at least 10 other times, is that he sees these orange lights light up over water towers. I'm only stating this guy's case here because, like I said, he's in his late 80s. He's been seeing these same things since the 1930s, and he's willing to go on record and say so. We've checked with Air Force bases, FAA. The Air Force Base, I'll answer, has changed their story several times. 3 times they've publicly made statements as what they could be. All 3 times don't add up. They don't match the evidence. The dates they mentioned don't correspond correctly. All that makes it is an anomaly. I don't know what these lights are I'm seeing. All I know is every other person I bump into who has seen these lights are all blown away. Not one person has seen them and said, it's no big deal. Every one of them can say that these are profound. They are not like ordinary lights. They're not flares. They're not Chinese lanterns or these candle lanterns. They're not fireworks. When they happen, it's usually pretty easy to triangulate from people. There are lots of witnesses around here. This has been going on forever. We've had Christopher Bledsoe and Mr. Gary Travis, 30-plus year pilot on this show a few months ago. 2 excellent gentlemen. And if I could run off the topic for a second, I'd like to mention Chris Bledsoe is also a friend of Dave Stinnett, and he had lost his father this week, so we'd like to send our best wishes to Mr. Bledsoe. Aaron, these lights that we saw, we've searched every avenue. What we've come up with is we have absolutely no idea what they are. I have no idea what these things are. I have military people. I have a 20-plus year military gentleman who's retired, recently retired, and his job was for 15 years was an aircraft spotter for the Air Force. He was trained to recognize airplanes and any aircraft from any nation, and his skill was to be able to identify it if radar couldn't as soon as possible. Obviously, the sooner he recognizes it, the better. And he has seen these lights on 2 occasions, and he has absolutely no idea what these things are and is completely fascinated with them, I should mention. He wants to know so much more because he's stumped, and I understand where he's coming from. He's a man who he puts understanding to it, and this is something when he sees them, he says he can't even correspond it with anything else. It's not making sense the way they light up and they reappear here. They turn off, how they move around, how their brightness. It's like full brightness or it's off. It's seldom you see it dimming out and flickering. These things just light up. They turn off. Sometimes they're in a long row, sometimes in a pyramid shape, sometimes in I've seen a rectangle shape at least 10 times. How many times would you say, Aaron, that you have seen orange lights in the state of South Carolina?
It's been at least about either 4 or 5 different times. The first time we seen it, we were actually staying during the wintertime right on the beach. A lot of the resorts to do great deals in the wintertime, staying in Ocean Time with like $500-600 a month. So we did that, and I was sitting on the couch one day, and I saw these lights light up over the ocean. And I went out there to look at them, and they were there was like a pattern of like a half circle right in front of me, and they all started to light up in a row, and then they stayed lit up, and then a couple more happened to the left. And I was freaking out. By the time I got my camera, it was too late, and I didn't know what it was. It was probably maybe, I don't know, a good couple miles out over the ocean, and I started doing some research on it, and I found out that lots of people in Myrtle Beach have reported on it. The local news channels even talked about it. And, everybody on vacation, they've got a video camera or something like that. So I noticed that there's something weird going on. But the first time I kind of heard anything weird about that area, my dad was living down there in Oak Island, just over the border of North Carolina, for about a year. And he said he was sitting in his condo there right on the ocean. And he said there was something, it felt like a sonic boom. He actually thought a bomb exploded. And it felt like the walls about ready to just blow right over. And he went right out on his porch and noticed all the other neighbors went out on their porch and trying to figure out what this was. And he got to talking to one of the guys, and he said that he's heard it a few other times, and they're called the Carolina booms.
Yeah.
And they don't know whether it's displacement, maybe sand, moving out there.
I'll tell you this. I have heard these booms myself. They are Oak Island seems to be like the center point of these booms, ground zero for them, if you will. This other guy, Brandon, who was supposed to be on the show, Brandon, if you're listening, don't be bashful. Go ahead, give us a call. Hopefully he's okay. I spoke to him earlier today. He lives up Oak Island. It's just a few beaches away from him. And he is always talking about these booms. As a matter of fact, he'll call me or send me emails saying, I've been hearing these booms for the last 2 hours. And I've been up his way, and I hear them by my house. And I'm 20-plus miles from him. And I've been up his way, and I've heard these booms. And they've been talking about these booms on Oak Island for at least 100 years. I know they're also known as the Seneca guns, Oak Island guns. A lot of people around here talk about. They're a long legend. They go back to the sinking of Blackbeard's ship, that they're his cannons because obviously his ship ran aground there. Regardless, these booms are not lightning or thunder, rather. They really shake, like from the ground out, like it's not a noise of boom. It's more of the feeling of boom. And this guy who's supposed to be on tonight as well, Aaron, just the other day he was telling me that these booms were so severe recently that they broke a large pane of glass in his grandmother's living room. And,
sure.
And these things,
that's exactly what my dad said. He said it was strong enough that it felt like if he was out on the beach, it would have almost knocked him over. And he said soon after that, he was watching the History Channel, and he was actually watching a program where they talked about secret Nazi technology. And he said Hitler was working on a sound weapon where they could use low vibrations, and it showed pictures of this thing. They would shoot a frequency at it like a sound wave, and it would knock walls over. And the first thing he said, that's exactly what that was that we heard.
Well,
and he honestly feels that it was some type of like a sound weapon.
I was not far from Oak Island Beach, maybe like 5 miles one particular night, and I was outside. It was a calm night, and one of these booms happened. And for a few years, I lived in Los Angeles, and I experienced several earthquakes that were like between 4 and 5. And when this boom went off, I looked at my wife and I said, "What the hell was that?" Just really shocked. And she said, "That's the booms." And I said, that was an earthquake. Like the way I felt it, because the way I describe it is you felt it in your feet, like the earthquakes out west. When they're not that big, you feel them almost as if you're like standing on a wave, or you feel the up and down. You feel it. It's so strange. These booms that come from Oak Island, I have the foggiest idea on what in God's name those things could be, but those things are serious, and it's amazing.
I almost think it's related to the lights.
You are one of 100 people that have said that to me. If I talk to anyone over the state line in North Carolina for the first 10, 15 miles of that beach going up to Oak Island, every single one of those people will tell you that, because they hear the booms, these serious booms, and they go outside, and some people see them. I'm not, but also I also must mention a lot of people on those beaches that see the orange lights, they also say we did not hear booms that night. So just because they hear the booms and see the lights, it's not always the other way around.
Sure.
But those things, man, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I'm always amazed no one's really done a story on these things, because, like I said, I'm a solid 20 miles, maybe even 30 miles from Oak Island. And we do hear those things. And sometimes this guy will call and say, these booms have been going on for an hour or two, and I'll say, yeah, we've been feeling them. And sometimes I don't hear them at all, or we don't feel them at all. But it's quite the common thing. It was just this week his grandma's window broke, and I asked him to get a picture of it, because he said it's the craziest thing. It cracked from the top right corner all the way down to the bottom left. And I said, man, that is wild. Like, did the house shake, or was it sound? I really wanted to see what it looked like. I just had to know. So I was hoping to ask him about that tonight, and maybe he will give us a call. But Dave, in your expertise, Aaron, Dave's been working on UFO research for quite a number of years. And Dave, in your expertise in your circles, have you ever heard any association with these booms and orange lights, or any pattern of lights?
No, but if there's a spot where there's tectonic, activity, we do get the orbs around there. And say if they do slip, they do make a sound. It does radiate through the ground, so if you're close proximity, you may feel it. But it also produces, light balls. The differential between what we see and something like that is what we see seems to have sort of intelligence, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And Charleston's built on a major fault zone.
I did not know that about Charleston, but obviously the people down in Charleston see a lot of orange lights also. What's interesting is, from where I live compared to Charleston, it's media. The way the media goes is we're in separate worlds. So if there's people in Charleston talking about UFOs, or if it's on the news in Charleston, I have no idea. And that's just an hour, 2 hours down the shore.
Well, if you're near the Asheville area, I'm sure the USGS has some sort of seismic, sensors up in that area. So it probably wouldn't be a bad idea just to bookmark that page on your computer, and then let you see the lights. Perhaps go back and see if there's any activity, on the seismometer.
That's true.
See if,
Well, Aaron, I think Dave, I think he only saw the lights when he was down near the coastal areas. Am I correct by saying that, Aaron?
Yeah. Since we moved up here, we haven't seen any. The skies are clear, and I've actually spent more time outside looking in the sky and constellations since we moved up here. But yeah, the last time I seen it was when I got on film, when I ran out my camera real quick, and I caught them. That was the last time. That was probably the fifth time. I'd seen it twice driving home from work one night, and that was pretty much the same similar thing, And I think the night that I got it on film, I think I found other videos on YouTube or reports of people actually seeing the same lights from different angles.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive I actually seen some videos uploaded that was from the beach side of it.
Yeah, well,
a lot of that's over, right?
I'm sorry?
I said a lot of that's over the water.
A lot of it is over the water. And it's a tough one, because a lot of these people who are videoing them are tourists the hotels are all on the beach. I have seen these things out over the ocean, but when I do, they're kind of far out there. It's when they're like within a mile of the coast, the ocean itself, maybe the first half a mile of land from the ocean, when you get a lot of reports there, you get a lot of people seeing them from many angles. For instance, in Myrtle Beach, I'm going to put this in the chat room for anyone, for listeners at home. This is the one night in September 13th, 2012 here in Myrtle Beach. All you have to do is type in on YouTube, September 13th, 2012, Myrtle Beach. And I know of 6 or 7 angles of these orange lights from that night also, all at the same time. What's cool about it is there's a view, there's a camera angle from north, south, east, and west, which is really cool. And we always have the hard time getting the camera angle from the east because that's the ocean. However, there are 2 videos from just recreational boaters that were just a half a mile off the coast. And they're filming back towards land, and you see them perfectly fine. It's actually a really cool video.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm putting them in the chat room right now for everyone. September, really cool because for 2 straight nights, it was pretty busy here with these orange lights. And I was one of a few people making a big fuss about it at that time. And I was saying, again, people last night, and it was on the local news at that time also. And so the night September 13th happened of 2012, there was a lot of people ready to go. They had their cameras out. So
I think it was either early this spring, but your stuff started coming out. And I think Allison Cruz got in touch with me. She's like, "Come on, let's load up and go down."
Yeah, Allison was a lot of help and inspiration for me in the beginning because I was like, I don't even want to post a UFO video online. I said, what good is it? Like, who am I going to talk to? And I said, I filed a report with MUFON, but I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything back. And then I said, well, after like 2, 3, 4 times of seeing them, I was like, this is really amazing. I really think there might be people out there who'd like to see this. And I was wrong. No one really cares. No one really does anything about it.
Yeah, that's kind of another part of the whole field that people don't really grasp. I mean, you can have some crazy stuff going on right around you, and everybody sees it, but for some reason, it just seems to kind of go by their glance. They get used to it, and the press won't come out and cover it also.
Yeah, I got on the local news a few times down here, 2 times, and then I realized it was every time someone wanted to do a UFO related story here, they were calling me, and I thought I was doing it to just find better people, find some answers, pass good information on to someone. But then I realized I was just the person they wanted on the news to talk about UFOs, so I stopped doing the news thing. But they've covered it on every news program here in my area. They've covered it good and plenty. There's some really highly credible people around here that's seen these. I mean, we had Gary Travis on the program. He's a business owner from North Carolina and a 30-plus year pilot. And this guy has not only seen them from the ground, he saw them while flying. And this guy, he's got his own HD video too, of these lights. So he saw.
Over the last 4 decades, I mean, the Carolinas have been hot for, saucers. I mean, saucers were big, and abductions, and so it's not like it's been a quiet area. I mean, the Carolinas have been hot for quite a while.
Yeah, and they did just open that a UFO exhibit museum here in Myrtle Beach too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They, Aaron, they opened it at Broadway at the beach, and it opened, I believe, in April. I believe it was April of this year, and they had a nice grand opening, and Stan Friedman came and done a nice little lecture, just something for the press, and they got it out there and they opened it up, and it is in a very good location. They picked a wonderful tourist trap destination. Excellent spot. Whoever their marketing people are geniuses. Well, bravo.
Yeah.
Well done.
But I definitely think there's something. I can understand maybe on occasion or maybe just a few times seeing something like this. But it's like clockwork for X amount of years that this has actually been going on before there was the military base in Myrtle Beach. So there's something very strange going on with that area. A lot of energy, and a lot of people actually don't know this. Even people that have lived in Myrtle Beach their whole life, when I talk to them about this. Do you know what the Carolina Bays Highway 31 is named after?
Yes.
It's called the Carolina Bays Highway.
I've been researching these Carolina Bays for months now.
I think there's something that has to do with that. And when you look at Myrtle Beach from a satellite, and you look
ridiculous. It looks like I live on the moon.
Yeah, it is littered with meteor craters that came in from the west and made meteor craters all the way from. I mean, you could stand in the middle of these things and not realize where you're at.
And
they go all the way into North Carolina.
I'll point out, Aaron, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I can go around and ask all of my neighbors and everyone I see all day long, do you know what the Carolina Bays are? And they have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. And I'll say, do you know that you live on the rim of a crater? And they're like, what are you talking about? And then when you look at it from a satellite, like on Google Earth, it's these people's neighborhoods. There's only round roads because they go around the rims of craters. There's about 1,000 craters in my county, and actually I live right on the rim of one. I'm one of those people, but I had no idea. I said, wow. And these craters are known as Carolina Bays, which are protected areas. But the craters here in Horry County, where I live, there's 10,000 plus acres that are owned by a federal trust committee, and they're not to be touched. They're very strange. They have certain minerals within the craters that are not found outside of the craters.
That's what the iridium count is out there.
That's exactly what it is, Dave. We've spoken. I was chit-chatting with Allison Cruz about it a while back, about the soil and the element contents. And, the platinum group, the iridium, the palladium, iridium, they're all through the roof. It wasn't that like iridium. It wasn't just that iridium was present. It was that it was a ridiculously high level of iridium. And iridium, we use iridium for making spark plugs for high-performance vehicles, race cars, for parts for jet motors, crucibles for melting metals at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It has superconductive properties. If you make a wire out of this, voltage will grow the longer it continues.
So geologically for any type of meteor strike. So
I know they can't find any proof of an impact, but
this is like thousands of impacts. It looks like something must have exploded and
I'm with you, Aaron. I'm with you. I've read
thousands and thousands.
I've read reports published from Harvard, Yale, MIT. The list goes on, and all three of those universities, I just mentioned, these papers were done, scientific papers were done and published for NASA. So these were all scientific works that were done for the parent company of NASA, but every single one of them comes up with a different idea, a different theory. The truth is they really don't know. They have absolutely no idea. I mean, it clearly shows the signs of an impact, but we don't have the impact. There's suggestions that it was from above, or impact happened far away, and it was the strata that was thrown from the impact. There's also theories that some sort of atmospheric anomalies happened somewhere like 20 feet above ground level at some point that made these things happen. Another theory was that the ocean levels were really high. When they receded, that was what was left, but it doesn't explain for all of the elements that are there and shouldn't be. So really what it all boils down to is there's so much work done on it, and there's so much knowledge on these things. So many testings have been done. But it boils down to is they really just have no idea scientifically on how they originated. But you're right on, because I have seen these orange lights over the ocean, but 90% of them or higher are over these craters, specifically the Waccamaw River that goes through these craters. Are you familiar with those, Aaron?
Yeah.
The Waccamaw River specifically, when I see these lights, the closest they're over the Waccamaw River. Reports come from over the intercoastal more so than the ocean, which is really strange. Dave, the intercoastal, just like Florida, runs just off the coast, just a quarter mile from the coast.
The ones I filmed, I would actually say were right about directly over Highway 21, right about in the same vicinity where those were at, because it seemed like they were closer than the first time I seen them over the ocean. And these ones, you know, if I was to just go directly underneath them, I'd probably be in one of those giant rings of one of those craters right out there.
Right. Well, right that intersection.
No, not 21. It was Highway 31. Yeah. Highway 31.
Yeah, 31. That goes right through the craters. Literally, it's called Carolina Bay Parkway. It's pretty crazy. This parkway weaves in and out of these craters. But I'll tell you, you cannot build on these craters. Someone I know purchased a large parcel of land, over 200 acres, that butts up to these protected lands, and the government came in and ordered them to have an archaeological survey done on their land before they were allowed to do anything. So they had an archaeological company come in, and it was pretty cool. They found we talked about on the show once before, they found a civilization that from 3000 to 6000 BC, this was a main spot. This was like a city. It was a happening area. It was pretty crazy right here on this guy's land. For 3,000 years before the pyramid was built, life was happening in the Americas.
Wow.
You know, right here in these bays. And what's darned is, man, you could throw a stone from this site, and the stone will land in the Waccamaw River. And the Waccamaw River, its source of origin is the Lake Waccamaw in North Carolina, which is a large bay. Well, Lake Waccamaw is nothing more than a Carolina bay full of water. And it flows right past my house. And so I'm lucky enough to see some really cool lights every now and again. Last summer, the wife and kids and I, on nice Carolina nights, sitting out a little fire in the backyard, and we just watched the lights. And after a while, I said, maybe I should buy a camera, because the cell phones really don't pick them up so well.
Well, you know what I've come to do during investigations now? I was out with Travis Walton and some of his crew this summer out in Snowflake. Is you get out in the country like that, and that's kind of out there. But you ask people, instead of like UFOs, you say, do you guys see ghost lights? And everybody seems to, country folk know ghost lights, and you get the same phenomena, and everybody had a ghost light story, so I found that interesting. And down south, you have the same type of folk, should we say, and they would have ghost light stories, and you could probably get a ton of them. The Virginias of
I think down by Charleston. I've heard of something about ghost lights down near Charleston, actually, even too.
Well, I was down in Charleston, and they have ghost tours down there. Lots of ghost tours, a lot of old history. It was really crazy. I was even in a pub down there, and it was I guess it was at one point associated with the courthouse. Nonetheless, they had done hangings there for like a century. The city hangings were done inside this building, which is now a pub, and they still had all the gallows and stuff still arranged 20 feet up above the bars. I have to say it was kind of creepy more than it was cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, we call them boards nowadays. Back then, they called them ghost lights. I mean, they're describing the same thing we're seeing up in the air. That they just have a different term for it, and sometimes that term carries on through a few generations, and you throw that one out there, people know that, so they have their ghost light stories.
Well, these orange lights, in my opinion, I have seen these things so freaking close, man. So close, maybe 50 to 100 feet away, and no more than 30 feet off the ground. And I had a very clear look at these things. I wish I was much closer, but I mean, I just don't see a craft, I can't really tell anyone a true definitive shape, because it just looks like a ball of energy. It looks like just smeltering hot iron, that deep orange color, but it's so intense though. It's just a different kind of light. It's just, I could try to describe it so many ways, but I just won't get it. It's just different. It's just.
That's one of my last set of YouTube videos that I posted when I was out in Western Pennsylvania with Allison Cruz and Ken Hurt. I was using the black and white night vision because, unlike the green night vision, the intensity of the light has tendency to make that, kind of blows it out a bit. But if you use the black and white night vision, from time to time you'll actually see some of those orbs, and you'll see a black center. But at that particular time, it was exactly like you're describing, Joe. It was looked like it was just a pure energy ball, because I was cycling through the various filters, and you couldn't see any dark center to these. It was just like pure energy.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's what I'm seeing. I wish I could see more. There's a lot of people that say I need better cameras. I need to get closer. It's like, I have good cameras. I understand I could always get closer and get a better camera, but I just don't think I'm going to see anything but this light. The closer I get when I try to zoom in on these things, and I don't even mean digital zoom, optical zoom, it's just so bright. It's like, it's nighttime and I'm trying to focus in on a street lamp that's really intense. You're not going to see anything. It's just overwhelmingly bright. I don't know what I can do to get a better look. Like I said, I've searched many avenues and to try to get better video, and there's nights where there's really good witnesses, and from 3, 4, 5 different angles of 3, 4, 5 different towns, but it apparently really isn't all that important to people out there, which is amazing to me, because these lights are freaking incredible, and I've seen fighter jets chase these lights, and I'm not ashamed to say that at all, and I have the dates written down, and I've been told by the director at Shaw Air Force Base on this particular night. What had happened was I complained several times about jets chasing these lights, and it's not making anything safer, because these lights were very close to my house, and these jets are very close to my house too now. And I had made a big fuss about it, and 2 nights after that, my wife and I saw these orange lights. It was amazing. They were close. They zipped behind some trees, and then as loud as can be, 4 fighter jets roared right over our heads. It was nighttime. We saw all 4 jets perfectly clear. They were incredibly loud. The jets had no lights on at all. All lights were off, but we were able to see them just fine. They went right past these orange lights. The orange lights turned and went west. These jets came back and went west as well. Then the orange lights went back towards the ocean, which is eastbound now. They went out so fast eastbound, and the jets followed them. They turned again and went east again. So the following day, I called Shaw Air Force Base, and what we learned is the director of Shaw Air Force Base claimed that all fighter jets in South Carolina were on the ground the night prior. He swears up and down no fighter jets were in the air, And now this remind everyone that this comes after they've already made 3 public statements that these orange lights are nothing to worry about. So if there's nothing to worry about, why are the jets so darn close to my house? I have a family. There's 4 fighter jets just a couple hundred feet off the ground with no lights on. Major tourist destination in peak season. Not clever at all. This is not a testing area. This is not Area 51. There's plenty of ocean just a couple miles away. You could go test things there. No need to fly so close. With that said, folks, we're going to have to take a break. Aaron, just hang in there for a few minutes. Join me, co-host Dave Stinnett. We'll be back in just a few minutes, folks. Welcome back to Researchers on a Mission Radio. I'm your host, Joe Kiernan. It's freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. I would like to get everyone to join us in the chat room. We'd like to get some good questions going here. There are quite a few people in the chat room right now. There's quite a bit in there. A lot of interesting people. A lot of good people. A lot of hosts. A lot of clever folks I see in there. Hop over there and get in some of these conversations. Let's get some good questions here. Also, feel free to drop a $100,000 donation on the little button for us for Christmas and for Hanukkah and any other ethnical celebration. We will be more than happy to celebrate for a $100,000 donation. Dave Stinnett is the man. He is the co-host of the show. He is the expert, the professor at hand, and we are joined by Aaron Thatcher, who is a man of many hats, and we're having some good conversations with him. Thank you for joining us, Aaron. Real quick, folks, guys, before we went to break, I was mentioning how jets were chasing orange lights. To wrap it all up, the Air Force in South Carolina had changed the story several times, and what it is, these lights got chased very close to my home, and it really upset me at that point because I was calling to get answers, and I was more than happy to speak to anyone civilly and tell them what I knew because these lights were happening so close to my home. But nobody was interested, and I guess the best matter our intelligence departments came up with was to take these nice orange lights that I was seeing and chase them with some seriously fast jets. Incredible intelligence, considering it is peak season in a major tourist destination, who Aaron, I'm sure, will confirm, during peak season here in Myrtle Beach, there are thousands of Russian exchange students here during peak season. They are seasonal helpers. There's an exchange program. This was all happening when Russian spy students were busted in Times Square in New York. So I would imagine testing anything top secret so close over a major tourist destination, peak season, is not clever military intelligence. Now, the problem with my story is that I mentioned I was informed that South Carolina had all of their jets on the ground that night, the night prior. So actually what turns out, and lucky for me, I have the document in hand, after several reports of complaining of these lights, and I'm only to assume Shore Air Force Base was tired of dealing with the complaints and the amount of people making such stories here in Myrtle Beach that these jets that came over my house that night were not from South Carolina at all. They were from our neighboring state of Georgia, from Moody Air Force Base. So I could only assume once Shaw Air Force Base has changed the story 3 times that the next plausible thing to do is chase these lights so close over my home with no lights on these jets. I understand they're probably within all legal rights to do so, being the military. I understand that, but it's not bringing any answers to these orange lights. And they're being seen really close. People who see them close tend to have really profound experiences, and they can tell you how incredible these lights are. But none of these people can tell you the shape of that it's any kind of a craft. It's some people say it's possible that there's life within these balls of light. I don't know that myself. I don't know. I could only speak on the matter that they are just lights that everyone's interested in, including people with jets. That's all I know. So, I'm left scratching my head saying, well, people see these lights. We talk about it. It's on the news all over the place here. Military seems to know something about them in one degree or another. They were chasing them. But I don't think I'm going to get anywhere right now. There's so much resistance just amongst people that are on the topics of UFOs that it's really just a pointing finger game when I speak about these lights, Aaron. I talk about them, and some people say cool, and some people say you're seeing Chinese lanterns, or I'm seeing flares. I was told I was seeing flares in a military test zone 40 to 50 miles off the coast, out at sea. That is astonishing, because the tree line behind my house, when we did it mathematically, if I were to see lights 40 miles out to sea over this tree line behind my house, would put these lights at 32 miles above sea level. That is incredible, to see lights 40 miles away and 30 miles up. That is remarkable. Not happening. They're not flares. However, some of them may be. Some of them may very well be. But not the ones that I speak of that had an impact on myself. With all that babbling done there, Aaron, with these orange lights, let's talk about the night you did that video. Were they popping up all night for you that night?
No, I just happened to go outside and have a cigarette, and I was just sitting there, and sure enough, over the neighbor's apartment building, like you said, over the tree line, I started seeing a couple of them. There was like 2 or 3 of them. So I ran inside and got my camera, and the ones that I had seen kind of faded away, but a whole bunch more started popping up. And they made a pattern. They made like a circle pattern, and then those ones faded away a little bit. And I wouldn't necessarily, they were kind of moving, and then also once those faded away, a couple more popped up in a different direction. And I sat outside for a while, hoping to see if I could catch some more on camera, and that was all I got. I was just glad I had my camera close by where I could just reach inside the door real quick and grab it and turn it on. And I was giddy because there were so many different times I wish I had a camera. I was in my car, and I saw some that would have looked even better, that were even closer. And just me actually getting them, I was just in the video, you could tell I was giddy. I was like, oh,
yeah, you were giddy. I find it humorous too, because I know the feeling, because it's like you see them a few times, and now you finally caught them. You finally caught them. Because as you know, with these orange lights, or I would imagine most UFO sightings, it very seldom are people camera in hand ready to go. Even if I had a camera in my hand and the power was off, by the time I saw when the lights came on, by the time I got the camera on and started filming, they would be gone anyway. So you have to really be ready to go, man. So
we used to have something called the gawk effect, and sometimes they can be so spectacular. You have your camera in your hand, but you're sitting there gawking at it, going, "Oh, look at that, look at that." You totally forget to put your camera up to it. So
that's happened to me. Well, of course, I'm sure these people who say that happened, it's usually an amazing time too. It's like one of the most amazing times. I wish I was recording. I kind of wasn't. I kind of just froze a little bit, I suppose. You know, but
pretty common. But yeah, I've had it happen a couple times. Like, holy, what look at that? And sometimes it's momentary. You know, it's just not happening for you long enough for you to probably get the camera up to it, but it's spectacular, and you're like, wow. And, and then it passes, and you realize, oh damn, I didn't record that.
Right. I was going to say the one other time was I so mad at myself for not capturing something when I was prepared. I had the camera locked on it great. I just never hit record, I guess.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I was locked in on it for minutes and said, "Oh, this is killer footage I'm getting here." Nope. No. Not till it was done. I said, "Shit, I didn't do it."
My Motorola Android, my Razr has HD, camera and film in it, recording capability. So if I'm stuck without, if I get caught flat-footed, I'll pull out the camera phone and go at it.
Right. It's I've changed my whole self. I have cameras with me all the time and I always have one going. I have an area that I was describing where I live towards the Waccamaw River here that I like to. I keep a camera every night focused in that area. And lately, I really haven't had that much time to review it as much as I'd like to. But it's really good for me because I hear a lot of reports. If 2-3 people say, "Hey, last night I saw something cool," I'll go back and look through it. But besides that, I'm just piling up video. Who knows what I have on there? I'd really like to allocate more time for it. When you saw these, Aaron, down when you were living near the coast in South Carolina, did you know of other people who were seeing these lights before you filmed it? Like, did you just the first time you see it, when you first saw them, did you ask anyone else, like, "Hey, did anyone see some orange lights around here?"
I asked a couple people. I asked a couple of my neighbors if they seen anything, and I also asked a couple people on the beach, but a lot of people just kind of give you that look like, "No, we didn't see no lights." They almost kind of thought it was like a trick question or something. But
right,
I was making such a big deal that my neighbor actually was on his porch, also having a cigarette, and you can kind of hear him in the video saying what's going on, but from his angle, he was across the parking lot. It was happening behind him, so there's no way he actually could have seen it. But I went over and showed him the video, and he told me that's something that has to do with their flares and the military base and blah 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 blah. I disagreed with them. Flares don't act that way. I have sky lanterns I bought, and I lit those things off on the beach, and they're nothing like this.
Right. I'm with you. I mean, I could spot one of those from 5 miles away. They're
yeah. But the color of them is similar. I almost think that, like you said, they're like balls of energy, because if something was from an alien planet, wouldn't they have like other colors in their spectrum for lights other than like candlelight? You know what I mean? Like the color of candles. Well, I was hoping to. I don't know. That maybe that. Well,
I'm with you on that, and that's kind of how I found really correlation with the Carolina Bays. Was saying, we as humans currently right now are mining these materials, these minerals right here in these same bays. For purposes of high-speed travel. We use them in outer space, and we use them for our fastest vehicles on Earth. It would only make sense something else was using it. And wouldn't you know, of course, the melting point, of course, well, for most metals, for iridium, it's a bright orange. It's a yellowish orange, which is the flash color for the element. But that's like most metals, though. So there's really nothing to get excited about with the color there, except that I was saying it's funny that these orange lights, for me, were in this same area all the time. It's possible if there's life in these orange lights, that they're interested in the same materials we are for high-speed travel? It's I just know in our science communities, when our astronomers set their scopes on distant planets, distant solar systems, when they're reading these planets, when they go by their sun, and they're reading the light infractions that come off of this celestial planet that'll pass by the sun, and then using a spectrometer, they comes off of the planet, and they're able to tell what the abundant elements are on that planet. As scientists here would say, what would catch their attention where Earth is, the obvious fact that it's the most dense planet around, that it's a calling sign for saying, hey, we have all the heavy Earth elements here, all the rare Earth heavy metalled elements. Earth has them all, and we have tons of them. We have an abundance of them. So if our science community would be looking for the same thing for these purposes, I would like to assume anyone who's got the capability of coming here from a distant place would also have similar intentions. But Dave, I've heard of these orange lights in many other places outside of the Carolinas. Do you get them along your coast in Jersey?
Well, it's weird because when I was out in Western Pennsylvania a few weeks back, the first ones we came up on were red, and they weren't orange; they were definitely red. And then we had some of the bright white ones, but usually the ones at the Jersey Shore, whenever you see the looks like a bunch of them, like a whole flock of seagulls that they have, some of that video coming out of Mexico. We'll get that. I think Atlantic City last year, we had a fleet of something that was shiny and moving very slow over Atlantic City. I think you can find that on YouTube as well. And on my YouTube channel, you can also see one that I took off in Long Branch, New Jersey, and it's just kind of a bright light, and it's just sitting there kind of sparkling and hovering over top of the water. But, birds come in all different colors. I've seen them in blue, and I've seen them in a bright white, so bright it looks like magnesium burning type bright white.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
I have one of my occasions they were a little bit more whiter, but I'd say about 3 or 4 out of the 5 times I've seen them, they were that golden color. But I have seen video of in Texas and in Brazil where they're seeing the same type of lights also too.
Really?
And I think the website was even like CarolinaUFO.com, I think, or something. I think one of my videos was actually on. I think one of yours was on there too, Joe.
I was going to say, I know you only have one video, but I see so many video, just not you. I don't see it on your channel, but it's on everyone else's. Yeah, I see mine all over the place too. And it's sad too, because on my channel I don't even run ads or commercials on there. And because when I was doing this, I really wanted to show people, hey, I'm not trying to make any money here. I'm just trying to say there's some really ridiculous lights here that no one seems to answer for. And so I said, I'm just going to start putting these videos online. And then, people said, you need a better camera. You need to keep doing this. Just film this, film that. And then I instantly hit a point that everyone said, okay, you can't possibly see a UFO that many times. You're faking. You're doing this. You're doing that. So, man, I'll tell you, this UFO community of investigators, Dave Stinnett, I give him super kudos for persevering for this long, because all I did was say, I'm seeing some crazy lights, shot a bunch of videos, and I seem to have found all the negative people online. It's not encouraging for other people, I could assure you.
Well, I generally pick case. I look for, who's filming what where, and who's getting their brains beat out by the local and national UFO community. That's generally where I go.
Well, that makes sense because you're good friends with Allison Cruz, and she was met with Tough Talent Challenge as well. And my God, she's got some awesome stuff going on, man. When were you just there, Dave? Like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago.
So what I saw in Allison's video from, I think she's put 2 out since the 2 of her videos, but man, she's still got some hot action going on there.
Yeah, it was funny too, because the night that we went, maybe it was a little bit longer, maybe it was a month or so ago, but I had come back from the Travis Walton thing, and I was supposed to go down to the Four Corners area and film stuff with Steve Pierce from Travis's crew, and we never made it down there. So I was kind of itchy, and I called Allison. I have a house up near Penn State, so I called Allison and I said, "Well, let's go out tonight." And she didn't think it was going to be happening, but I had kind of had this just said something was going to go on. So we got the gang together and went out to the spot, and we no sooner pulled off to the road and it was popping. So,
man, her videos, they just keep going on. I've talked to her about elements, materials on the ground. I know she's got a lot of mines in that area, but I'll tell you, it's quite interesting what she's got going on, because it seems to just kind of be doing the same thing for so long now that surely answers would have come up for these by now, because she's no silent duck. She, as you know, Dave, she really does her research. She really looks into these things, and I would have figured someone by now would say, just say what the hell's going on to stop her. But she's got nothing.
Nobody goes up. I'm probably one of the few researchers that actually goes out there, because she actually has an active area. And the funny part of that night was, as soon as we pulled into the area, there was one there, and we all got out of the car and we're all scrambling for our cameras, and we're all up on this and we're filming it, and we didn't realize where we were at and what we were doing. But a guy comes out of the house and he's just like, "What's everybody doing? Why are you guys on my lawn?" And I just pointed up and he was like, "Holy crap, what's that?" So Allison had to go back and kind of talk to the guy what we were doing and everything else. But the guy and the kids came out of the house and he's like, "Get back in the house." So he lives there. He didn't know what was going on, and it was like right there, because it was it was not much further than roof level. I mean, it was fairly low.
Man, that's incredible. In her videos, these lights, I know she has good gear, but they still look kind of distant. Is it much closer than it actually looks?
I mean, sometimes it's really close, and sometimes it's not. It's not across the valley. I mean, if you were looking up in the night sky, it's below the cloud deck, so it's relatively low. And the funny thing is, last time we were up there, Allison just started kind of spinning in this 360-degree, just kind of stopping in 360 with a regular camera and just taking pictures at ground level where we were at. And behind me, a big bright light starts kind of morphing out of the ground or out of this bush, and it comes out and it's sitting kind of, I don't know, maybe shoulder level. So not only were we pitching something in the sky, but we seemed to have some sort of a bump around us, which was interesting.
Yeah, it really is. See, I know with her area, she's really geographically looking at a map, at least from where I am here in South Carolina, she's relatively close to the Great Lakes. And even just straight north of her in like western Western New York, there's been a lot of interesting stuff coming out of there recently. Just that whole area, not so much directly related with what people see over the Great Lakes, but just that whole area where she is, just from where she is to Ohio up into New York and then over to the Great Lakes. The whole area, I mean, I don't know what they have going on over there, but it really seems to be something.
I went out to Western Pennsylvania last weekend, the weekend before last, and I was hanging out with an old school ex-MUFON field investigator, but he has his own UFO group out there in PA. And he says they're running around like mad people because, they're getting reports all over the place. They've got some really good equipment, too. I didn't see any of his footage or anything, but it's popping up through PA.
Yeah, there's a lot of orange lights reports that come out of the Great Lakes, too. That's been going on for a while. And I only say that from finding old reports. I haven't been following it for a long time, but apparently there's some interesting orange lights up in that area too.
And a friend of mine was telling me that over top of some of the nuclear power plants out that way, they've had sightings of UFOs or something hanging over top of power plants.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that either. I know that there is a power plant in North Carolina. I think maybe it's an hour or 2 hour drive from me. I've spoken to people who live in that area, and they say just that. They say they see orange lights, but they're usually in close proximity to the power plant, and when they talk about it, they get very excited about it. As they've seen it several times, or so many times. Some of these people, they get so excited that I guess I want to hear them talk about it, because they're so adamant. Like the people who talk about in North Carolina that say, I see these orange lights near the power plant, that's the only thing they're going to talk to you about, because they're
don't forget back in the 70s they attributed UFOs hanging over the power plants in New York to cause the big grid crash and the big blackout in New York.
Well, I wouldn't be the least bit shocked about that, because that was a serious blackout, and that put them down for a while, right? Weren't they down for a week, 6 days in New York?
It's a pretty good clip, but I mean, we just hanging near the power lines. I mean, I think even Allison has made comment that they sit there and look like they're sucking on the power lines, and I think West Penn Power, which is the power company out that way, had sent out notices in her areas. If you see anything unusual around the power lines, give them a call.
Wow. Well, that would make a lot of sense for energy, but with I could see them if something was in these orange lights, if there was life form in there, I could see a curious entity being interested in our power plants, nuclear power plants, of course. Seeing a nuclear reaction that we only see on suns to be happening in small little amounts here by humans, that we're really
primitive
not
people.
We are so primitive. We still have a hard time learning from our own mistakes, man. We got a long way to go. We're still in the baby steps, but we figure things out, and so we figured out nuclear energy and used it in the worst possible way right off the bat. We said, wow, check this out, watch this,
how many people can we kill with this?
Oh, God.
I make a joke because you get like the contactee people or people who've gotten messages, and they're like, the aliens said that you guys are hurting your planet, and they won't allow you to have World War III or to set off any more nuclear bombs, this, that, and the other. And it's just like, if you realize that since they've said that, we've lit off something like 2,050 nuclear detonations.
Right.
Half of that's in the United States. I mean, we're in a closed biosphere, and these guys are lighting up nukes.
Exactly. Never mind, we have a serious problem with the nuclear waste. We have to store this stuff for hundreds of thousands of years, and hope no one 200 years from now accidentally opens it up.
Hey, there's a whole line of thinking where they think that these guys are trying to use this stuff to open up wormholes or portals, or that when they do that, when they ignite one of these things, it does rip some sort of, makes a tear in space-time, and some of this stuff comes slipping into our realm. You know, and there's that line of thinking as well.
Well, I'm open to that line of thinking because energy is on so many different levels, and we're used to three dimensions, as you guys know, and there's definitely more. We know that in just the laws of matter, but we see 3D, we understand 3D. We have a tough time understanding an animal that sees in 2D. I tried explaining that to my children, that some people don't have depth perception, that they see things in 2D, that things are flat. And that was a little bit of a lengthy explanation for them to grab. And just because they're not used to thinking like that, they don't understand that possibility. So it's hard for even myself to understand that there's more to what we see. I remember a good teacher I had in college. He said that you have to look at the light spectrum. The light that we see in the light spectrum, if you take all the colors in the light spectrum known here in our universe, and you imagine that is the equator, and it goes around the whole Earth. Humans have the capability of seeing about 1 foot of that line. So we really only see such a limited amount just in the wavelengths of light. And
I think that's why animals pick some of this phenomena up quicker than humans, because they see in different wavelengths. And if you go on some of the YouTube UFO videos, especially people who live in the country, we always know it up in Allison's area even, because the dogs go crazy, and the dogs are barking like crazy. As a matter of fact, if you look at Dr. Lear's Turkey UFO video, there's a section where there's a dog on the beach, and that dog's not howling at the moon. He's looking straight at whatever they're filming, and he's losing his mind. Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to agree with that, because I'll tell you, last summer when we saw a lot of these lights here around my house, my wife will be the first one to tell you. So many times she would say, those are dogs barking, and we learned to get the hell outside. Or we would see lights and look around and be waiting and hear dogs in the distance. Not 1 or 2 dogs. You hear like dogs from a neighborhood off in the distance in a certain area, and that's where they would light up. And it's just I was trying to be more aware of, you're trying to recognize patterns that were going on. And it was just always so interesting how the dogs would go a little bit nuts. And it was cool because the noise of the animals would come closer, as the lights would. It's really strange because this article did say what you said, that a lot of animals can see more. Not just because they can't see as many colors as we can doesn't mean they can't see the depth, because light is a frequency too. Everything's a wavelength. Sound, light, they're all just frequency waves, and it just who's able to tune in. That's really what it is.
I was clowning around with Grant and Cameron, and some other researcher had made the claim that he could pretty much do the same thing, but we always joke because if you look on a lot of the reports start out with, yeah, my wife doesn't let me smoke in the house. I got out on the porch and I had smoke, and I saw this thing. And they all seem to start out with somebody having a cigarette. So when Aaron said that, I kind of, laughed to myself, because it's another common denominator. You're going to have a smoke. I don't know if you're just facing out the sky or whatever, but I said, pretty I can make a case between, there's a correlation between smoking and UFOs. And Grant said, I'll say the same thing.
Well, we are in the Carolinas. We do grow it here. I didn't know aliens were so cool with tobacco.
Yeah. Thinking maybe that's why they want everybody to quit smoking, because there's something in tobacco that allows us to see this stuff or something.
I thought that's why you were going to tell me most UFO witnesses don't live that long. They're all chronic smokers. Because it's really true though. Because nowadays, pretty much in most states, if you want to smoke, you got to go outside, and everyone else who doesn't smoke, they're not outside. People are indoors people. They go from their job to their house as fast as they possibly can and drive like a lunatic. And they go home, and they usually stay inside until they have to go somewhere else. And very rarely are people just outside observing life.
That's true.
My grandfather had 103, and he smoked unfiltered cigarettes. So.
Oh my Lord. Whew. So he saw a lot of UFOs, is what you're telling me.
I don't think he saw any UFOs. He never told me about them. I did know he lived to be a right age, and he smoked unfiltered cigarettes, which I always thought was kind of strange.
Wow. That's a real trooper right there. I think I tried one of those when I was about 14. I'm still feeling that, the non-filter. I think I took one from like my friend's grandfather or something, and I didn't know anything about them, and of course they were non-filters. Holy crap, that was some mean stuff. Put hair on your chest.
You should try it down in South America. It's like sticky goo. I was down in Uruguay a few years back, and the guys were trading me Marlboros for their real tobacco, and their real tobacco was like, holy mackerel. I mean, it was like smoking tar.
Wow. Was it tobacco?
There's
funny things down there, man.
Guys, go out there, man. I mean, it's real dark out in the country there, and you get to see a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's the tough thing around here is they have a lot of ambient light. When I'm looking towards the ocean, it's really tough. But lucky for where my house is, I'm pretty much right on this Carolina Bay trusted this 10,000 acres. So right across from my house, right across the street, is this 10,000 acres. So if I'm looking in the direction I look for these lights, there's really nothing there. It's I could pretty much walk across the street from my house for 10 miles to the North Carolina state line, and I don't even think there's any roads back in there at all. So I'm fairly lucky that way. But if they're out towards the ocean, I'm really not going to see them. There's a lot of trees, and there's just a lot of light coming from just all the tower hotels and the 2,000 restaurants on one road sort of thing. But I'm pretty lucky with the ambient light. But Dave, with these orange lights going on down here, what would be another step I could take, or I could encourage other people to do? Because a lot of people get so frustrated with trying to explain what they're seeing that they're met with so much resistance from everywhere that they throw in the towel. And the people that originally do have the courage to say, I'm going to speak up and do something about this, it usually fades after a while. They say it's not worth it. Too many people are being rude, and it's not worth my time. And I'm seeing that happen all day long around here. And I suppose if the military did have to answer for it, they're also aware that it's just a matter of time before someone who's speaking up will just settle down and stop speaking.
Well, you're just going to have to move through that one. I mean, that kind of comes along with the territory. What you need to do is kind of form a daisy chain of the people who are doing it. You're not doing it for anybody else. You're doing it for yourselves, and think of it like that. And correlate, if something's happened in the area and there's people to the area who are interested in this type of stuff, and they see something, have them get on your cell, and then you know about it. You get out your camera, and then everybody's getting footage from different areas. We can corroborate it, and then that adds to the body of information that we have. But if you're waiting for, the national UFO groups and people to come out there, you're going to have a long wait. The reality of it is we have to do it ourselves. So you start looking up with like-minded people in the area who are doing the same thing. You keep each other on speed dial on your cell phones, and when it's happening, boom, light everybody up, get everybody out there with the cameras and post it on your YouTube video. You know, maybe start a joint YouTube channel for, you know, Central Carolina UFO, and we could see what's happening as you guys are posting videos, what's happening in that area. And if we have a lot of those different channels, then we can go through the entire country and get every single area that's lit up, and we can start, you know, comparing and contrasting what's going on and where it's going on.
That's a very good idea, Dave. That's a very good idea. I like the centralized channel idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Where multiple people can post to it.
Yeah.
It's manageable, yeah.
Yeah, because you're absolutely right. It's something that's going to have to be done on their own or on my own. Or, you know, I understood that. I learned that. It was one of the first things I learned that had to do anything with UFOs was you're on your own. No one's going to come here. No one's helping you.
I get a lot of newcomers to the field emailing me all the time, and they were like, "What's wrong with this field? It's broken." It's like nobody will and it gets frustrated. And the thing was, it used to take us, you know, 20 years to get frustrated. Now it's taking like people like 3 years out of the box, and they're like, "What is wrong with this field?" It's like thing on the face of the planet. Nobody will come out and nobody will talk to you, and we got it happening. It's just like, yeah, you know, and you have to explain. That's kind of the way it's always been. And once upon a time, if an area was lit up, a lot of people would head down and film. But for some reason, maybe it's the economy, people don't want to do the traveling or whatever, but there's always been a slight disinterest in the field. It's like, oh, yeah. And then people move past it. But
I understand that you need to...
and it gets the hooks in you, and you get interested in it. And those are the kind of people you want to deal with because there's something about it that intrigues them. So,
yeah, but I do understand that it's a lot for an investigator to commit to a travel for an alleged UFO because usually it's already happened and it's probably not going to happen again in the same spot. At least that's what I've been told. And you know, it's a lot to commit to traveling out of town. You know, you really want to be sure on what you're going to see because, I mean, let's be serious. You're most likely paying out of your pocket if you're a researcher. No one's funding you to go and look. And most likely, if you are being funded by someone, it's usually for the wrong reasons anyway. But, you know,
well, you do look for the areas that are consistent when it's happening, and there are areas out there, and there are people who, you know, if you're in the field research community, you know where they're at. But for me, I just happen to be, I mean, I'd say lucky, and Allison's, you know, 5.5 hour run from me.
Yeah.
But it's still an area that I can go to, you know, and it does have its own, you know, ebb and flow. It'll be hot for a long time, and it'll cool down. It'll be hot sometimes, and it'll be cool. It'll cool down. It'll be over years, you know. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't.
That's Philly Woods, and that's been consistent for decades. So, and there's places like that.
Yeah, you know, I learned of that. It's funny you mentioned that. There's a gentleman named Lee Townsend. He's from the Baltimore area, and I've become very good friends with him. Really nice guy, and he's another one. Dave, I hope you don't mind me mentioning. He's another guy I care a lot about, a hell of a guy, and he just had a heart attack this week too, and he survived. He's of course got to change the diet. You know, you got to get fit, got to get healthy. He's a real good guy, good friend of mine now. I met him about 1.5 years ago or so, maybe a little more. And he's a guy who, through one person to another, he caught the story that I was seeing some orange lights down here. It was probably a 6-7 hour drive for the guy. He's probably been down here at least 10 times over the last year. I'd say, you know, about once a month he comes down and he makes a trip down here, gets himself a hotel for the weekend, and sometimes we meet up and we'll look together. But I'm married, got 3 kids. The UFO topic is not my primary business, so it's tough to allocate times just for filming outside when I'm a family guy first. So sometimes this gentleman comes down and he just looks for himself. Sometimes we meet up and look together, and he's down here for his own interests, and he's documenting everything he sees, and it's been going on for over a year now. And he's the first one to teach me about what is it? What was the woods one? Marley Woods, yeah. Marley Woods. He was the one who was first teaching me about that, and I said, "Wow, I didn't even know there were such places that routinely have UFO sightings." This was how naive I was. I was so naive. I assumed the only place that they continuously happened was something like Area 51. And I also was under the impression that there were teams of UFO investigators ready to tackle the UFO case. And I was
like the tornado chasers. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think it's because I was not in the UFO community, and I just know there's several shows on TV, and it's just they make it look like they're always ready to go and tackle the world. So
that's like the funniest thing, because when you see those shows, you realize these people have never done this before, and they've got another one. They've got another one coming out before, and I made a crack, and I probably shouldn't have made a crack about it, but it's just like, these people don't know nothing about this. They don't want the people actually who do this, who could put them onto it for some reason. I'm not sure why, but that's kind of how it runs for some reason.
I'm hoping it's changing, but I think I know what you're saying.
I mean, they'll roll in there with the FLIR truck, and the FLIR truck has like cameras they can see in like every wavelength, and all the cameras are pointed at the ground. It's like, what is going on here? Put the damn things near. But,
that's another thing. What happened to this legendary FLIR truck? I did remember seeing a FLIR truck and saying, now that's an advancement. You could just roll up on a scene there, and you have a mobile lab, per se. I mean, I wish I could have that many cameras and be able to sit inside a truck or my house.
I teed off on somebody one night, and I go, you give me the FLIR trucks, and I'll show you all the UFOs you want to see,
Hey, you know what? With FLIR, Dave, have you ever heard of anyone trying to film with their camera in a negative setting? Do you know how you could reverse it so it has a negative image?
I don't know how to do the negative image, but that's kind of why I do the black and white night vision.
Okay.
Because it gives you that. So when there's something in the center, and there's been times that I've filmed those where it's really bright on the outside, but there's something black in the center of that thing. That black and white night vision is the only thing that really picks that up nice. But the last few times I've been out, whatever the ball is, there doesn't seem to be anything in it. And in my YouTube video, it kind of looks like a film moving as I'm filming. But it's me cycling through the different IR filters and whatnot just to see if I can pick up that solid center. And I couldn't pick it up. It was just like pure energy.
I think I know what you're...
Allison says, look at it looks like a Sirius star. I mean, it was really bright, but it had like, north, south, east, and west. Like,
oh, yeah,
like
sure. Yeah. Like the Christmas star they always draw, with the long spears, right? The long spires from each peak. Well,
exactly.
Yeah, we have just a few more minutes to go on the show. Dave, you have anything you want to mention in regards to the happenings in the Jersey UFO world?
Well, we just had our fall conference, and it was standing room only. And Linda Howe and Grant Cameron came in, and we just had a blast. It was a great time.
Dave Stinnett is the head of the UFO conference and conventions in New Jersey. I have been posting the links for your site, Dave, in the chat room.
If you look at L.A. Marzulli's just put out his Watcher 7 DVD, UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away series. And I'm in it. George Filer's in it. Jose Escamilla's in it. But they did a nice job at that. And it's a slightly different narrative, so that just came out. So you can check that out if you want. It has a lot of New Jersey folks in it.
Right on. And Aaron Thatcher, that's the name of your YouTube? Well, you're A Thatcher 85 on YouTube, right?
Yeah, that's my YouTube channel.
And do you have any other links you want to send anyone to, Aaron, for the work you're doing?
Well, we pretty much about it. I don't have a website to link to it and stuff like that, but there's a lot of advancement with permaculture, permanent agriculture. I think a lot more people are kind of waking up to the fact of what they're missing out on. When you go through the news or spend a couple months listening to Alex Jones, and you're kind of confronted with all of these problems going on in the world, I think a lot of people don't really choose to do anything about it. They think maybe writing their congressman or protesting, GMO foods or anything like that, which is good. But I think the first thing that if you see a problem with something, the first thing you need to do is, what can you personally do to change that situation? And I think if we were more dependent on ourselves than Walmart, shipping food from Argentina and, salmonella tomatoes from Mexico, I think people would be healthier. They'd feel a lot better about things, and they could start making some of their own money. I mean, you can make a lot of money just growing tomatoes or cucumbers or anything in your yard. And that's kind of where I'm leaning to. We're hoping to be living as cheaply as possible.
Absolutely, I understand. I think you're doing a great thing. I think more people should pay attention to what you're doing, and hopefully you're reaching a few people, man. It's encouraging work that you're doing. I really mean it. It takes a lot for people to initially get it going, but I'm sure you found a lot of inspiration doing it too, though. I'm sure a lot of good has come out of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it has. I've met a lot of great people, and I've noticed I've gotten a lot of great page-long comments from people. I've inspired them to do one thing or another, whether it's save up to buy their own land or start putting a garden in their backyard, or just kind of really look at things, and realize where your food's coming from. And
yeah, I'm with you. I'm
if it's from a box, it's not good for you. It's a package.
That's true. Or if it has a shelf life of 3+ years.
Yeah, what's in that stuff? Dude.
I don't know. But I mean, before we run out of time, I do want to thank Aaron again for coming on. But next week, I hope everyone tunes back in. Dave Stinnett will be on again, and myself. And Dave, we're discussing Atlantis next week, aren't we? Yeah. Dave, are you prepared to go into a discussion with Atlantis next week?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I've been doing some research on it. I'm hoping to come up with some blockbuster secrets. I might have the discovery of the millennium.
Wow. That's probably every Atlantis film research operation there is. So this will be interesting.
I'm trying to bring out something new and exciting.
I like it. That sounds like a great idea.
I might have to go to Antarctica to get some answers by next week, but by golly, I'm going to have something special, I promise you. I will not disappoint. I will have breaking news. Whether it's true or not will be up to everyone else to decide. But I will.
Didn't they just find a pyramid over there or something?
You're stealing my thunder. You're
I'm sorry. I'll keep it quiet for that.
No, you were. I was just kidding around. No, I'm only kidding around. Aaron, if you want to hop in, you want to call back next week too, man. Feel free. It's hopefully we're just going to be doing just as we did tonight. We're going to be discussing the Atlantis topic. Tim C. wasn't able to join us tonight. He's usually producing. We'll have him back next week, too. And I'm going to press on Tim to get his research in high gear for this Atlantis discussion for not being able to attend tonight. I'm hoping it'll be a good discussion. And it all started with this Atlantis topic because we're all familiar with the story, the legend, the myth. But I tried to get two separate authors in relation to Atlantis on the program. And they're very difficult people to get on here. So we're just going to handle it ourselves, and we'll probably come up with even better answers than you'd find. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight and every week. Special thanks to Aaron Thatcher. He's welcome back anytime. Thank you, Aaron. And to our good friend, Mr. Dave Stinnett. Once again, thank you very much for co-hosting the show. We'll see you all next week.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And we'll be right back after this message.
Message to our listeners. Revolution Radio is you. Thanks to your continuous support and participation, Revolution Radio will embark on its 4th year on air, bigger and better than ever. You, the listeners, have made Revolution Radio what it is. The #1 commercial-free talk radio station on the web with nearly 24 hours of live programming, delivering directly to you the most cutting-edge information available. You, the listeners, have become some of our most popular radio hosts. You, the listeners, offer feedback that molds our programming to appeal to a worldwide audience. You, the listener, provide eyes on the ground, reporting about newsworthy events in your area, and you, the listener, are the lifeblood of this station. We love you, and thank you for being a treasured member of our Revolution Radio family. From all of us to all of you, have a happy and safe holiday season, and let's make this new year a success once again together. Thank you.
Enjoy your
extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another?